It's a stab in the dark.
Okay, all right, you know what? I'll go with chopsticks. Right?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
go mixing it up.
I'm scared. I don't know if coming back is the right play.
Oh my goodness!
No!
The trap
Why?
has been set!
Why? Why have we come back?
Bye-bye.
I hate to say I told you so, guys, but
I am shocked. I do not know what
teams. How are you going to deal with this? There's not much room. The Longwoods in general can actually house a lot of teams just north of that road from Ferry. So technically you can house a lot of teams there, but you've got to get there fast.
Oh yeah, as you can see, I love the fact that there is a lot more places to be in that beach area, but Mafioso is lighting up Athon Esports, and Fran having to decide, do I take this fight? Do I get these shots down range? Or do I take off? It looks like he is trying to help out his teammates, but it's just a little too late.
It's a wild spray and not really connecting with much there as Mafioso is going to lie down. He knows where Fran is, but for Fran, I mean, there's too many targets. They're actually driving up. They're going to aggress onto this here as they know that they already have the man advantage. One down. Fran's going to have to back off here. I mean, he's got actually quite a few nades still left, but this, I don't know how much he's going to get done.
Let's see. You can see Rebo out there trying to get a nade. They do have the man advantage, and they're trying to get revenge for their teammate, Carrillo. Okay, some shots onto Zohan. Zohan forced to get out the vehicle, and he is stuck out in the open. So Athon Esports gonna have to make a crazy play if they want to survive.
All right, well, big spray still coming in, but not really been able to connect with much. Both teams here. Some smokes to kind of cloud the vision of any further onlookers. And yeah, this is, it's a slow fight, but, you know, it really happens.
Run over.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Senethex running over Fran, and now Zohan is on the run.
You got to get out and play for placement. You
Just
can't take this fight.
Try to get some points, but that's the thing about this point system, right? It's so heavily in favor of elimination.
Technically, with the transitions that they were able to make, but it's very edge. So eventually they're going to have to dip from that as we take a look at the replay. And nice nades by Tixie. Yeah, you're going to have to dip
into the beach. This is a complete blind rotation, and they are getting picked apart.
Yeah, those trench areas, difficult to actually push onto when they've got him on lockdown. One unlocked, obviously, but
actually get a chicken dinner.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you're not here already, it's difficult to push onto, as we have a few fights heading on to the north as well. I can talk about the beach a little later on, because still this fight's going to continue.
Let's see right now what Sem9 could do here as Tam is going to go ahead and start off with a shot. Bit there with the off angle, looking to mix things up, and he's a little bit hesitant because pushing up in that angle is going to leave him wide out and open. He's going to need some support from his teammates. FaZe with the nades. All it takes is one well-placed nade here, and they are going to be at a huge advantage.
They're just soaring over at the moment. They hear the driving across as well, and unfortunately doesn't get quite the hint of where that boogie's going, only the visual cue of it. So throws the molly over towards it just in case somebody was being picked up, but not to be the case. Going to be moving away here. Meanwhile, in the middle of the beach, which, by the way, is slightly deceptive. It's a beach, yes.
Oh, man, ever since this 2.0 update came out, it has made a party of things. And FaZe tried to get away from that fight, only to run into...
It's very open lines of sight.
Yep, and that is the name of the game here. Let's see what Sem9 could do as they're pushing through the edge of the circle. They're going to have to get past DRS. Killer does have that off angle, but he's in the vehicle. Does he decide to hop out? He does. And Delta, making some shots onto the bug. He gets one. And Tam is going to try to find a way in. So it gets popped in the meantime. And this angle here from Naoto. Putting in some work on the Aegon I-8. And with one knocked here, and the position they have, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a push.
Very PR, a lot of buildings, a lot of rocks to try and take cover against. So the pre-fires throughout, I should say pre-fires, just trying to spray through the smoke, hoping that he's going to be able to clip something. Not hugely successful, but still putting pressure on against his opponents as well. You know, you can crawl in front of him if you want. Fine.
Here comes the nades. Naoto trying to pop one off. Throwing a pretty blind one right there. Not going to be able to get the connection. Blade's going to hold it as well. He knows where those smokes are. Yeah, and then finally, Missile throwing one right towards Aegon I-8. Does connect. And it is really just up to Blade here on this off angle to try to make something happen for his team.
It feels like it's up to Blade a lot for this team when you're kind of seeing out these moments. But, I mean, this is very difficult to deal with. He actually catches Naoto, though, during all of that. The rest of Donuts here for the moment is going to move back, trying to find maybe an angle. but he's using this corner really effectively whilst healing to try and negate the angles that his opponents are looking for.
Icurd forced with that crazy rotation. They get beat up in the process, but they do survive for now as the Ali, the last straggler, trying to make it towards his team, but all his tires got shot out.
Yeah.
Nowhere to go.
Rough, man. Some parts of it are still flat, let's be real. So that's why that's going to be so easy here for them to be able to take those brilliant shots coming in as Vampire trying to solidify themselves on this side, but they do have one down, just getting
to get into the thick of it. Bigatron now deciding we got to make this push. Here they go, starting to apply that pressure. They use those smokes to be able to push up on the R8 for free, and now here comes all the utility, but one nade could spell disaster for Bigatron. They have to be careful here.
Yeah, I'm glad that they found out around the building because they were giving R8 just one single angle to focus on there for. So this is really important to kind of keep your opponents guessing.
Ragnarok, looks like he had that VSS holding that one down. Oh, he spots one player. There goes the second knock. Full send here for Bigatron as they climb up. And shots going back and forth. R8 about to get picked apart. Only one player left. Can D7 do it?
Can they? versus DBS's. I've seen this go usually towards the DBS's way, as he is going to look for an opportunity to come around this corner, just give it the big blast.
Oh!
D+Kia is driving on
the
it.
molly!
He got caught by the molly during all. The distraction causes him absolute devastation.
It's up to Yuhai. Yuhai has to make some serious plays here. He does get up. I don't think he has time to go for this res, but he's going for it anyway, and now here comes Forrest. D+Kia.
There's no way they get this off, right? There's no way they get the res off.
Here he goes. Comes up. Yuhai finds one. He misses every shot! That has gotta hurt as D+Kia pick up the points. D7 finally comes down. Misses some as well. Oh, these players want these shots back so bad.
Looking for that fight here and will be able to take out R8 as well.
D+6 eliminations. One player down for them, but they do have the north side of the zone. But there's still so much action happening. That's going to be DRS Gaming eliminated. 9 teams still remaining here. The zone shifting up north into this forest area.
Yeah.
So many trees, but not a lot of cover at all. Teams are going to have to fight their way to victory here.
The person in the middle of the circle at the moment is HamCG. If S2G is able to make a meal of this game after losing the first person of the game as well, that would be absolutely fantastic. They've got one knocked on that right-hand side, though. They need to get him up. But all these teams on the beach now are having to make the scramble against these bunkered areas, and it's difficult to make that transition.
Hang Galacticos still all the way at the southern side of this circle. They're going to have to go against Infinity IQ if they want to go for this chicken dinner. Here comes the utility. They got to throw it all right now. Time is of the essence. There's still 2 minutes on the clock here. And here comes the push. Puiga looking to hold on this angle. Gets caught in the process, and Yangon Galacticos are taking advantage of it.
It was a decently timed push, but that off angle is hurting them a lot. Vampires is blasting them here from that west side. At the same time, though, Vampire has to be cautious. Gladiators is just north of them, so they need to use this ridgeline to the full extent, but they are going up against a so fortified area of Gladiators. The smokes are all important to close the gap.
Yes, Vampire Esports throwing those offensive smokes, eliminating those slight lines from Gladiators. That's going to force them to push back a little bit as Vampire is heavying the storm. And you can see right now, Gladiators, they have a good idea that this is Vampire Esports, considering the elimination feed popping off and the shots going off right next to them.
The direction that this team's coming in from as well.
For his team, and that is going to definitely get them going here. Let's see what else is going to do. Yeah, it's only one player on 9. He has a DBS, but oh my gosh. He got a couple players hurt. Forrest forced to throw off that smoke here. Oh, gets caught in the process. But D+Kia, 9 eliminations. You got to pick up Forrest at this point. This guy has been crushing it.
Yeah, this has been excellent from them. Should be able to get this res off as well. Just back it on up. Yep.
More. So you have to put up some serious points while you have the chance. Young Galacticos might just get caught up by Ravenclaw here as he's got that nade. Oh, it busts off, but he gets knocked in the process by Romeo Boy.
Yep. Not too bad, but look at how little guns are trained on the south. As we take a look at the replay here, Forrest is able to get so much done in this game.
Oh S12K. Absolutely insane. 5 eliminations make that open as Meku does start off with a nice knock on the Schweppes.
And the smoke wall that they used across that road was super important to try and make that transition happen. This is why you save your utility for when it's most important.
Forrest from D+Kia picking up another player from Vampire. I mean, no matter how good you far. There's not much you can do with the situation.
The teams in the south can't catch a break when it comes to these circles, though. They're going to be up against it once again as the circle goes north, east, or east, or whatever you want to look at. But here, Calci, S2G, D plus Kia, they have the advantage against these teams, even though the shots are raining in from Tixi.
Vampires just trying to make something happen, but it is just too much. Literally every single squad is focusing right in their direction. I mean, they are the first place team. Everybody wants to get them out as early as possible.
But they've been strong quickly.
I think every team in this lobby knows that this is Vampire stuck on this rock. And it's like they've all made an agreement, said, you know what, this is the first place team. Let's take them out first, and then we'll worry about each other later on. But man,
how tricky it can be. Silas also hitting Meku. S2G is having to hold the Wolves off at the doors at multiple angles here, and they're doing a great job of it. It's the one proper dip in this circle that has some defense.
Schweppes, at this point, I think he's going to go deny the points. Maybe looking to try and pick up a point here and there. Yeah, he's not gonna. That's Vampire out of there. 3 teams remaining.
And Gladiators here is going to be absolutely trounced on this west side, considering they had to spend so many smokes to get over that road.
I might be giving the advantage to D plus Kia here. They have those sight lines. S2G is stuck in a corner. Kitsune's the last one. Oh! There it is! From Fabian!
Fabian's been setting this up for the last 5 and a bit minutes. He was taking that off angle strongly. He wipes them out! That's D plus Kia getting themselves the victory.
He's been saying this for the longest time.
Oh, no, I know what you're going to say. Full confirmation that you need to go north or south. Yes. So get rid of Infinity. And Sem's already getting rid of people as well with the handgun that you can't hide, you can't fight.
Oh, he got the buggy! Wait, second thoughts. Oh, he's going to go for the finish? No way.
Is he going against the guy with the AK with a handgun?
To the M7, and M7's beating him up bad. The rest of his team is coming, actually both sides of the squad. Here comes Kenny with a Bizone, trying to get some shots on the ARAM. Oh my gosh, unknown. Did he end up getting that knock after all? I believe he did. Yes, he did. And the third. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of back and forth there.
It's close.
That was a little while. Oh, Gladiators getting taken out by Mezexis. In see right now, Young Galacticos gonna take the hill. Trying to catch Aegon. I8, slip it. Oh, wow, he actually hit some of those shots. Oh, what?
Bison boys.
Oh, that is how you do it there. And he's going to go ahead, secure that inland. Yes, get that point. And yeah, Aegon A8, they don't want none of this. They're going to take...
I know you can do that. It's weird. So, you can actually eventually see that. But replay on. Meku getting sprayed on down. These long-range Bison fights, man, they're hitting.
They hitting those right there. The bizarre. Oh my gosh, caching Matic. And I think they got one of his tires.
They might get it.
Let's see if Schweppes goes for another one. It's smoking. It's on fire. And just like that. Circle. They are just on the side of school here. And man, that was not the easiest of rotations, considering that they came all the way up from Zarki.
And eventually got themselves one of Gladiators.
That's
which
true.
Is very nice here as a scalp to take.
Especially
this.
Crippling your second place team, right?
Yeah, that's any way you can do that and then get yourself a bigger lead would be fantastic. But Galacticos kind of locked in position here against RA, and I think this fight eventually either needs to conclude or the teams need to move north or south from one another, because trying to move east from here before you finish this fight is almost impossible.
See what R8 decides to do, and you're going to see B7 push the action here. Oh, cute Loki got really beat up in that position.
Angle.
Yeah, Romeo Boy with that really nice off angle. He's trying to buy some time for his squad so they can get this res, but it's going to look tough.
It's going to be indeed. More throwables forwards here and move back as I get the smokes up to try and get the cover enough, but the spray into the smoke, delaying this cross as much as possible. He is behind the wall, so technically if he could get that, it'd be great. But now they find him in the smoke, shut him down. That's good from R8.
Huge shot there for Prestige to be able to... I believe they spotted this player from Aegon I8, just out by himself. He tries to get the pre-nade off, but the easy spray, another easy elimination for Vampire.
Yeah, the absolute blast towards this location, but shots are actually raining in against them. They got to be a bit careful about that.
Oh, our push? I mean, with their position right now...
That's a nasty angle.
And all them smokes, I mean, any team can push up on them, but I don't think Team Falcons really have that in them to make it. Yeah, you can see them playing it very, very here.
There's like knock-on effects here, right? You're in center of the circle, which is cool, yes, awesome. But because you came here with only one vehicle, it means that you don't have that much cover outside this shack. So if anybody gets in nade range, I think Ravenclaw's already moving for them, actually, to try and find an alternate position. Because if you're all in one shack, one nade, bam, you're dead.
Yep, just like that. Done and dusted. Let's see as R8 tries to make the rotation. Carrillo was waiting for him. Switches to the DBS because he expected them to come right through him, but instead R8 saying, nah, we're going to go ahead and circumvent this and head on into the circle. Very nice.
Move. We've got ahead of them as well. It's Galacticos here with only the two being able to blast through. And, well, a bit of a calm before the storm. We actually had a relatively similar circle from our previous Erangel yesterday.
That's true.
So let's see how these teams are able to deal with it. So far, of all teams, I think Falcons actually had a really good split on this east side across that road, which is of extreme strength. So maybe they're able to convert here.
Let's see if they are going to be able to. Vampire, oh my gosh, hugging it out. Yeah, they are down to... the 3 players, that's right. One took off.
Yep, with Ravenclaw down to the south. It's very important that you're all not together in just that shack. You're working with limited information if you're all just in that shack. And Ravenclaw, of course, is the guy that they're normally sending out to gather that for them.
Well, they're so heads up to be able to center up in this circle, so no matter where the zone goes, they're going to be most likely in it. And yeah, okay, all right, a nice little southern shift here. This is honestly a great zone for the Falcons, but they have to watch their backs.
Downhill is a lot of this combat going to be here in a few moments' time, as well as rkiye's driving past the position of Vampire. R8 skirting past the Alpha 7 position. And, well, R8 is sending it, blasting it through to this small building. It's only the one building here, mind you.
Right.
So.
Alpha 7 taking a nice checkpoint as well. They're going to be set up pretty here with all 4 up. They got their eyes on R8 and on the rest of these teams, possibly looking to catch a straggler on the rotation. Still a lot of teams not in this zone, and they are quite late to the party as everybody instantly took up most of the major checkpoints left in the circle.
Definitely. Obviously, D+ Kiera's got a great compound. I mean, we've already seen them have success here in Erangel just before. And this is a team that, I mean, we were talking about it during the break, right?
Yes.
They've won things like World League East in the past under a previous name, which still, you know, Kiera, obviously, but different sponsors, etc., and or a different configuration of name. But they know how to hold onto locations and kind of lock it down with previous rosters. And I think they could have some success on this compound too.
But especially with how they were able to sneak up on S2G a little earlier. It looks like FaZe Clan is a part of that same energy. RayZ still alive here, looking to possibly get a nade off. Oh, okay. A nice drive-by, got a little bit of information for him. RayZ has to pinpoint and hit this all, and it's right between them.
Tries to go for it, not successful. Malag will look across as well. Guys, this is a very, very slow-paced fight here. Actually, RayZ gets him.
Got him with the nade here.
Nice.
Okay, opened it up. Here comes Authority Esports on the off angle. Yeah, Falcon realized that, you know what, this is third-party central. I am taking off from here and trying to group up with my squad. They only have 1 elimination, but like I mentioned, their backs was something they had to cover as the zone shifted.
You got to get up together for a position like this, because eventually they're going to have to move off of this. Very likely they're going to have to move off of this road and downhill together against the positions that some of these teams are taking up. S2G still locked with FaZe.
Silas losing, they lose Silas in the process, so they're down to 3 players. FaZe Clan do have 1 knocked. They do get the pick up on the Milag. And Ventores trying to get a nade off, but it is going to be Ones that gets it.
MCG, this smoke's giving away kind of where he's going to be perched up at. And that nade just kind of able to get Calci, of all people, stuffing.
Oh, what a shot!
Able to take him down. Jeez. Okay, FaZe is kind of slowly falling apart here against S2G.
They're focusing on too many different players. You can see as Milag was focusing right onto Katsude, trying to pick up the easy point. Does he get it? He does. Okay, but the nade getting popped right onto him from HamZG. That's going to make things a little bit more difficult, but hey, they're still alive here. I'm telling you, FaZe got to be careful.
But it is going down. Vampire's going to be very happy about that. A double spray coming in here to try and finish that off, but at the same time, a big push-up onto that, and it will be SUG going down thanks to the DBS.
Yeah, but FaZe lose almost everybody in the process, so they did get some nice eliminations there, but they won the battle. The war, though, is going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, they had to swing out too far right on that lip, on that plateau that they had as a position of strength. They got desperate about shutting down that fight, and then D+Kia had the angle from the compound all the way to finish off a few of their members. So rough stuff.
I think they depended too much on the util right there. I think at a certain point, you got to know you have the man advantage, take those shots. But and with so much on the line, it's hard to take those risks. Let's see what Team Falcons could do. Oh, nice long nades onto Sem9. These bounces are looking pretty good here. Let's see if T can hit the mark onto Tim. He's going to get the confirmation most likely here. Oh, barely misses it. But yeah, it's only a matter of time. I don't think they're going to be able to get the spreads off.
Behind
he gets behind the tree. He gets behind the rock. Wow.
Yeah. Only 1 health on him as well, so he has to back off from that fight. Here comes the reinforcing smokes to shut things down and also cover the vehicle just because they need that later on for the transition.
Beautiful smoke placement right there from Sem9. I don't know if they did see that. Oh, run over Alpha 7 with the full send. This is how you do it right here. Here they come in hot onto R8. They do lose 1 player on the process. That's going to be Carrillo going down. Senatexa now here with Revo, gets the knock on a Prestige.
Very nicely done here with the S12Ks as well as DBSs. Just continuing to push on this situation here. Ragnarok on the west side going to try and solidify the position he's had with a few smokes to cover where he's going. But it's all hell breaking loose here for now. Falcons on this northern side shutting down these teams that are coming in from the high ground, because then that will leave their backs open so they can make transitions.
Here come the Falcons here 1 by 1. They're just taking each player out. Depp, SKR, he is in the deep business right now as the Falcons are right there next to him. Are they going to spot him out? I don't think he's going to take these shots. It's way too risky.
If they don't, iCurd might. I mean, he is so sandwiched. Like, it is very rough for him to try and make something happen here. But iCurd is moving ahead of him, trying to leapfrog forwards. And again, Vampire here, they're licking their lips, man. I mean, with Gladiators down, with D+Kia in 3rd place, 60 points behind them. This is an opportunity for them to extend their lead even further.
I'll tell you what, Vampire is so good at securing those center positions early on. It has been proven to be so fruitful. Here comes iCurd from the edge. What did you see?
D+Kia is moving up quite aggressively on the position towards Vampire there. It's Fabian very far up against that. I mean, as we're looking at these fights on the high ground, but I'm scared to see how D+Kia is going to approach that against Vampire.
I think we definitely want to see these teams take that northern side. They want that hill advantage, that high ground. iCurd still in a battle with Team Falcons. It is going to be that 4v4, but Team Falcons with 5 eliminations, they are feeling themselves right now. They're starting to fire on all cylinders.
Ultimately, unless you have a lot of smokes to your ability or a lot of cars to be able to just smash into that compound in the middle, I don't know if anybody on this northern side is going to come out victorious in this game in the end. It's difficult to make that transition down south, but as you can see, now Vampire is very aware that D+Kia is pushed up against their position and is trying to dislodge them.
It's going to be tough for them to get the finish and keep every player alive as that nade from Forrest. Oh my gosh, Forrest is having one heck of a day here. He is especially feeling himself after that last match.
And he's down here is Ravenclaw. That's a lot of information.
Oh my gosh.
And a big angle gone for Vampire. Tony K is actually ripping iCurd apart, and they're gone down as well thanks to the fact that Falcons was also firing in from the east side, so they got completely smushed.
Yeah, they sure did. And speaking of smush, they have been smushed in that shack almost all game long. They still have all 3 players up. They have a smoke fortress here, but that will allow teams to get close to them. And if D+Kia gets a little too close, like you talked about earlier, all it takes is 1 nade. But Team Falcons, 8 eliminations. This is the game they needed.
Yes, it is. Now, where are they going to go from here? If I was them, I mean, sending it down this hill is difficult. I mean, maybe you try and go for the eliminations even more and try and wrap around that north side here, taking the fights to, God forbid it, Vampires, all of these big names, first and third up there at the moment. But Falcons is seeming hot.
Oh, yes, they are. And they're in 6th place right now, looking to climb the leaderboards here with this game. But Vampire still alive. as DRS now applying the pressure to BTR. They're at a huge disadvantage here in these red buildings. They don't have a lot of sight lines. Delta, he knows exactly where he is. The bounce nade, he cooked it, but gets shot from Infinity IQ. Bensu.
Yuhai going to try and deal with this here with the ump, and is able to do so very, very nicely. Once again, umps versus DBSs, and somehow these umps are winning things out. Another nade has been cooked. Is it going to be able to connect? No, it will not. Tries to go for the res straight away. That might be deadly, though. Naito on the corner here from Donuts, coming in to be able to get things going.
The angles are insane.
Yeah.
D plus Kia picking up those knocks, making it hard. Here comes Team Falcons.
Big crash.
Full sending it right onto Athon Esports. They want this red building.
It was the only major the option they had if they wanted to get center of this circle, and now Aton gonna have to try and hold this off. Thankfully for them, Punching King is already down, but you can see Take actually looking for an angle to be able to get in here, rendezvous with his team, get a little bit of scouting information off with the boogie, going all the way around, but Zohan cooking the nade.
Falcon Punch getting rezzed here outside, right outside this red building, looking to possibly use their man advantage. Athon Esports Milos has to get this knocks onto TQ to kind of help give him an advantage. He gets shot up big time, though. They're both hurt. Zohan getting knocked. It's not looking good for Athon.
If they make this play work, it could be the winning move of the game. If they're able to wrestle this away from them, and they're going to be able to do it without casualties by the looks of things. Punching King's down once again. If they can get him on his feet, this could be the fort that they need.
TQ with 6 eliminations by himself. Team Falcons are soaring. The plane was a sign, ladies and gentlemen, but it's not over yet. Here comes D plus Kia with a huge battle against Vampire. Schweppes in the smoke, trying to get it done. Hits the lay down, but he is out of there. That is 8 so far for D plus. Another great game.
They're so agonizingly patient about their fights, and it really causes that war of attrition to play out negatively for their opponents. And even Vampires is victim to that. They stared into the sun for too long. And D plus Kia, man, they're looking great in the middle of day 2.
They have the high ground as well. They are not inside this next zone, but they have all the information that they could possibly need to get down safely. And they have all 4 up with some vehicles. So they are definitely a threat. Peralta laying down outside of the zone all by himself, just looking to annoy some teams.
But the question is, how are they going to play this circle, D plus Kia? Of course, Falcons was up on this high ground as well. They realized you can't stay up there for as long as, you know, those teams that are kind of stalled things out can. So Fabian's going for a big wide wrap here. I don't know where he's going, though.
Yeah, he's trying to secure that rock to try to get some intel. He's going to lose his buggy in the process, and most likely this game in that situation. So the other 3 are still alive. I think probably the push on the Falcons is the play.
Maybe. Fabian was basically sent out as a feeler. Okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to see who has lines of sight on us. Let's not commit everybody. Naruto doesn't burn out.
Barely survives with that nade. How is he still alive? I don't know. This man is on another level right here as DRS Gaming is looking to take him out, and they need to do so quickly because there's 53 seconds left on the clock. They want to secure this position.
Yeah, and you might be careful about the off angles against you here because Alpha 7 can see you against this building. Molly does actually get caught by the fire. I think he should be able to heal through this to get things going.
The low toss nade coming out to be fruitful, gets another elimination, so that is going to be 4 for him. He jumps out, but right into a DBS shot.
That's DBS territory right there. You don't walk into that. But at the same time, Alpha 7 here trying to find themselves a position of power as D plus Kia has now moved onto this west side. Fabian as the kind of feeler player to try and figure out if it was safe. Figured out, okay, actually we can make this location work as long as we've got some car cover against that east position.
And the off angle from DRS takes out Alpha 7. So now that's completely clear. That is huge for D plus Kia. 9 eliminations for them and 10 for Team Falcons. This is going to be a battle.
Look at that shift. D plus Kia has been blessed with this, and it's going to force Falcons to move to the 1 remaining building that is north of them, and it's really not that big a building. This might be a D plus Kia double victory in 3 games.
Oh, can you hear that? All I hear right now is the clicking of teeth onto nails. This stadium is at a standstill right now. They want Team Falcons to get this victory, but it's going to be difficult. It is literally D plus Kia's game to win, but DRS putting a lot of pressure onto them, and I'll tell you, Peralta with that off angle could make things that much more difficult for them.
Up until that knock, did you know what I heard on the wind?
What was that?
The word "kamsamnida." As the Koreans here were very, very happy with how this circle's gone for them. But, I mean, with a knock like that, it shows actually how vulnerable that location is. Again, if you don't have smokes, if you don't have that car fort fully set up and good to go, so they might be slowly expending their utility with those smokes slowly running out.
Oh, but look at what they do have, the zone. And sometimes that is all you need is that and some 5.56 in your bag. How about a crate, too? That'll help out as well.
It will. I wonder what weapon they got from that. But at the same time, big transition trying from Exexis here. They actually saw him on the left-hand side of that smoke being able to move. I guess maybe the scope was actually blocking a little bit of that vision.
That's right, and that is going to be a D plus Kia. The AWM comes into play right here at the end. So one shot, headshot could be coming up here in a second. Fabian with the crazy sprays. The buggy is still on fire. Wow, D plus Kia are getting picked apart.
It was kind of important that Fabian stayed alive there because he is alone and he was their slight off angle compared to the other three members. Forrest is at the front, also knocked. Falcon has taken a perfect opportunity at moving out as quickly as they did to try and apply the pressure to their opponents.
Oh, nice finish there from DRS.
Nice steal.
All the pressure is on D plus Kia. Everybody is looking at them. And meanwhile, okay, finally, Team Falcons look to the left. They take down Rules OG. That's going to leave one player up left for DRS. Team Falcons looking to take the dub.
They moved out at just the right time.
That's
it was
another
brilliant stuff. All of the spray's going to come in here, try and deal with this. They have more angles than D plus Kia. This is going to be difficult for the South Koreans to be able to get on out of. Sprays through the smokes. One left.
One player left. It's Forrest. The legend.
There they are.
Goes down. It's Team Falcons with the victory. The stadium erupts right here. Another chicken.
DRS as well, continuing their upward trend since yesterday's games.
Their location, and they are at heart a paranoid team, which is a little bit more acceptable when you're playing in a 16-team lobby, where, you know, a lot of times when you get to that end game, there's only going to be third party after third party as each team concludes one and will be on to another. It's very difficult to play in, and it takes some real brains to be able to control that area, as well as a lot of force behind you too, which certainly some of these teams currently have. Everyone is grouping up very quickly as we already head into stage 2.
Yangon Galacticos having to fend off the roll-up for SEM9, and it's going quite well, but unfortunately they've already lost 2. Depp is down, took the dip there, but Romeo traded off for it. Just cute Loki left standing at the top of the hill to face off against 2. Mikial and Kenny both wanting to find the final player, but a nade evens the numbers, and now it's a 1 versus 1. DBS in hand, sure, but that nade looks pretty good. It's around the right tree, just breaking wide from Kenny. Means that he will dodge the majority of that damage there. Sends another one going a little bit longer that time. Didn't cook that nade too long, but Hugh Loki yet to really find the value for it. A lot of damage poured into Mikial to stay alive. Looks for the res, can't quite tap it on fully, and there we go. The spray and the knock. Waiting for the heal, and a really nice 1-2 tap there from Cute Loki to keep Yangon Galacticos in the running.
Yeah, the one smoke comes down and Loki wraps the illusion, rounds the eyes of his opponents, and they just can't see where he's coming from. Really, really well played there. The initial nade into the ducking and dodging behind that smoke to make it happen. Will keep his team nice and healthy, which was quite a terrifying situation, but already a lot of action pumped out at the start of the gates here. We have at least 6 teams right now, all losing players, with SEM9 completely out of the game already. But a lot of teams already in this circle. There's only a few teams that are outside. More ferocity from their side. And I think that this particular play really does require that bite behind it.
See if they're able to bear the fangs appropriately. Kitsune goes very, very low, but has backup from Tixi, top fragger in the tournament. Doing a lot of work for the team, but does go down there in an unfortunate trade with Missile. The team will roll straight on through to try and trade, but Matic falls as well. He's going to get flushed out, and Missile just about goes away there. And Meku now the last standing. The Gladiator's under threat. How has that happened? 2 players from Yokohama Donuts take them down. That is disaster. Striking for the Gladiators, but Vampire looking to try and play another story, play another tune as Prestige takes them out on the staircase. Last player standing for R8. trying to trade off with the DBS in hand. It's doable, but it's not going to happen in the face of Schweppes. Cannot stand up.
What a horrible spot to be in there. And this is just the problem with the DBS right now, is that you get one player with it. A lot of these situations where the 1v4s just weren't possible have now been opened up. So the DBS, problematic in that sense. If you're going up against it with an M4, it looked like Vampire were trying to institute there, because they are playing off in an area where they really would like to get some long sight lines. So you can understand why they would go for the double ARs. It is interesting. So I think for them, going up against that DBS, not ideal, because they're going to have to pump the bullets in, whereas just one shot from that DBS will take you down. So a little bit difficult. I'm glad they didn't face one by one. They all went down the stairs together, made sure that they were able to refrag off the back of one another. So yes, they lost a player, but it was salvaged in the end. 3 players, not ideal, but it'll do.
Apparently it's enough to take down the
Circle. You want to be as close to the action as possible, so you can start to have a little bit of influence around the lobby. Already though, we got BTR coming up towards D+Kia, see if they can keep going on their streak, and from behind the door, Forest will take down one, looks for another.
Call him the lumberjack. The Forest taking everyone down. Alkev through the window, finally able to slow him, but will it be enough to stop the train? No, sir. Forest still alive. Rezable. But Yangon Galacticos over the ridge.
Goodness me. And we can keep going with the old LOTR references, because Forest just assumed that BTR there was Sauron. Very much not happy about that situation. The Ents do finally go back to war and keep the Kia back in the action. A great play from them, and they can continue to play from that northeast side. Very critical that they get through that engagement with 4 players still up and running, because it is not going to be easy to get towards the center of this circle now. You need all the sight lines you can get here on forwards. They do have a couple of vehicles. You can see there some do not have wheels, but some do. So they at least have 2 to get through this horrible fielded zone. I think right now Aton have a strong spot in this compound up towards the northern side, which looks down upon a lot of the rest of the lobby.
Looking at teams that might be able to find a way into that position. You've got Alpha 7 with Carrillo scouting down south to maybe crash onto Aton. Difficult push, because you've got D+Kia on your east side across the fields, as we just saw. FaZe as well on that beach side, but if Alpha 7 can make it to those compounds, potential to take it from them. From the south side, it's a lot harder to assault onto this compound, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really quite a difficult circle to be playing in. I think if we're taking stock around the area, obviously you have the roadside over on the east, which does cut a lot of this up. FaZe currently playing over towards the hillside itself on the northwest. Obviously, this isn't going to give them the best route into the circle, but it's certainly going to give them a position to take shots towards people who are already in the circle, in which case they can immediately fly in, take up that position, and that's probably what they're looking for, because they have excellent sight lines going forward. Alpha 7 hoping to stop FaZe from making this one happen. They do get these shots off. Alpha 7 need to be ready to receive, and quickly, because you know that at some point, as this next circle comes through, FaZe will have to cross this road, and that is so treacherous. Being split up on this circle on either side is horrible. Forest here, very quick on the trigger, really good reflexes to see exactly where the players were coming from. Did just enough damage to help the rest of his team actually take down the final player from BTR as well. He has been on an absolute clinic today, even getting 7 eliminations on that last game. By the time, a lot of these players had just got 1 on his side, so very, very well done.
Really, really solid stuff, and it speaks to the increase in power we've seen from this roster. 3 eliminations found so far in the game. I have to go a little bit further across the way with the circle as it falls. Teams on the south side looking to maybe go into a little bit of conflict. DRS moving up to the Vampire position now on the southwest side. 3 players have made it to the wall. Delta goes down to an aid from Schwepp. That's a really good start for the hold from Vampire. Ravenclaw puts another one straight down the middle. Schwepp tries to split the difference, moves on to the outside, but the nade from Killer lands on its target. Rules is low, but still alive and cooking. He will be lobbing it straight on into the building as well. Schwepp needs to dodge it, but can't quite get out of the way. The shrapnel finds the mark. Rules heals up as well. A lot of value on this early push. Ravenclaw has been flushed. It's now just Stone from Vampire.
Yeah, he has to pull something special out the bag, and I think that it's going to be the retreat approach for him, as Schweppes will go down. You'd imagine Stone's just going to try and live out a little bit longer. I think they've realized right now that their lead is dwindling a little bit. D plus Kia, the closest behind them right now, with 4 players still alive, 3 eliminations found 2. So Vampire need to get something of like a top 5 just to keep hanging on, because D plus Kia on this game, if they can rotate in from this northeast side to a strong position within the circle, they can have an excellent game ahead of them. And I think a lot of the teams towards the center are damaged. S2G, for instance, they're currently running with just 2 players. Yangon Galacticos are heading over towards S2G. If D plus Kia spot this movement, they can follow up on top of this.
FaZe looking to move in at the same time. Alpha 7 making their way down south. FaZe took a knock over towards Ventores, which puts them on 3, but they are behind some cover, maybe looking for that res. You can see 2 players just over the way going for it, and they will have a little foothold into the zone. But Alpha 7 have the high ground. This is going to make FaZe's journey so much harder.
Yeah, I mean, Alpha 7 made the 100% correct decision. I think they knew exactly where FaZe were playing. FaZe were hoping that they maybe would peak and they could find one of these shots through, start tossing these very similar smokes, and then quickly just send on over. But Alpha 7, very patient, waited for the next circle, but in come D plus Kia, and already that's 1 player run straight down. Carrillo has to go big now.
With the DBS, can he make anything land? No, he can't. That's 2 players. Revo's down in the meantime as well. 3 players, all 4 of Alpha 7 melted in the face of D plus Kia. And nade sent back over the top, but this is FaZe's chance. 2 players down, so they are severely diminished. No one going down for FaZe, and they can roll over these hills. Aton do not chime into the fight either. Fabian taken out with that nade. 4 players still, 4 FaZe, into the vehicles they go.
Guardian Angel comes through for FaZe and opens up the path through. I think that for D plus Kia, that's got to be an assumption that's made, right, where you wonder, why is this team holding here? Why are they not further down? And that road crossing is very, very difficult. And you saw the speed at which D plus Kia removed Alpha 7. FaZe were a little slow getting across that road, but it didn't matter. By the time you get into that position and you're trying to recover, the nades are already over the top. So I think D plus Kia could have maybe slowed things down just slightly before FaZe had to pour over the top. Great initial push, great damage, and great elimination over towards Alpha 7, but the foresight just not there.
Aza absolutely demolishing the iCode peak there to try and keep the Falcons alive, which they desperately need. 2 of them are down on the floor. Another smoke, I think that was launched forwards with the DBS through the smoke. That is such a dangerous sound to be playing with no hard cover. The rock, though, is there. He will be able to hide behind it, but not for long. Turns the corner, does the job. 1 player from iCode remains.
DRS down towards the southwest side. Once again, have found that position. They're wily, man. They're very good at finding these positions around the map. Aton Esports come out of nowhere, and FaZe feel the brunt of this one. They need some support. They need some help, as Onzen is able to pick off 1, but Ventores and Mormon most likely will now fall. That's 2 players down for Aton, but the recovery for them a lot easier than FaZe.
Both of them in this reservoir position. You can see Zohan just committing to both of these right now. They are going to have to move because the zone is already pushing. Can you get everyone back into the fight? It's going to be tricky. Aram from iCurd crawling away, and Team Falcons will be drawn short here. Infinity IQ will slow them down, but will they be able to stop them? That's still a question that needs to be answered here, because it is looking a little bit shaky. Ferrari, Kaidula, both having a say into the fight, but shots across the way, the third party's there. Naturally, Aram chimes back in, and an aid from the Falcons seals the deal.
What happened though? But it was indeed iCurd who was able to pick up that final elimination over towards Team Falcons. Aton, they're on the high ground currently. Romeo Boy comes up, and Zohan has absolutely no idea. He needs to go to confused.com and sort something out, because goodness me, he was in a different world.
Looking for some sort of payout there, but it's not really going to be too easy to make that claim. Southwest side, DRS, 4 players alive towards the top of the tables as well. We spoke about how D plus Kia were pretty close to the Vampire totals, but DRS, they are also on the knocking on the door there. 2 eliminations already, all 4 of their players alive, looking fairly healthy, have the compound, and the circle has shifted their way 3 times in a row now.
DRS, very happy with this position. Very happy they're able to take that engagement with Vampire as well. Considering Vampire had this spot in the first place, you know, this was such a crucial fight that they had to take versus them. Really good grenades, very good hold from outside the building. Realistically, Vampire had a lot of space to play with. And again, it's a little bit of that greed sometimes that we see from Vampire where they just like to play very fast into these engagements and have fun with it. Unfortunately, it comes back to bite them here. Stoned is, though, laddering up. Already in towards 6 teams remaining, a top 5 position for Stone. He'll be very happy with that one. On top of the fact that they've got 4 eliminations, you know, that is still going to extend their lead and give them time today to extend it even more.
The team's cowering behind the ridge line with the blue zone pushing them. Eating each other alive now. Aegon XI8, Infinity IQ, both going very low, but it's Infinity IQ who stay alive and try and keep themselves together here, but with only 2 players, you've got to wonder how much further can they go, because they're going to have to break across this ridge. They will have to cross the road to get to the next circle.
You know, with the way this actual compound set up, it's going to be so hard for any team to beat out versus DRS. They have such a strong spot going forward. 4 players alive, so many diminished teams who had to face the brunt of everything. Like I said, this circle is absolutely brutal. Aton, though, vicious with these grenades over the top.
Infinity IQ as well, managed to pop a sniper shot. I think there was an M24 landing into the back of S2G. Not ideal, and they will fall fully. Stone now under pressure from DRS and will fall in the face of it. A nade in through the window. Delta picks up the point, and DRS now have got the tower to overlook towards everything else here. Aton do still have a pretty solid ridgeline to play along, though.
I mean, 4th place there for Vampire Esports. They're not going to be happy with that one. Killer, though, on the swivel at the moment. A literal human turret. Spotting several different players. Drops the nade up topside. And will just go for some acrobatics to get away from that. A bit confusing. Does let it go off. Now looks over towards Ferrari. Will get the shots in. He drops the deck, but you are visible as anything.
With the building high ground position, it's just impossible to get across there unscathed. They'll find out about that. 1 player remaining for Infinity IQ. 9 eliminations for this East Side team roster.
Yeah.
This is really good results.
I mean, it's
from
really
10th in the table at the start of the game.
Yeah, it's really nice to see the dichotomy between DRS as well and Gladiators and the fixes that they've made since yesterday. Really good execution towards these end games. They know exactly what they want to do. They know that this circle is difficult, so they do have to be a bit more passive in this game. Bensu goes down, and for Aton, it's all over, because coming out over this ridge is like wearing a high-vis jacket, and DRS are ready to zone in.
Oh, he's seen one. He's leaning out the window. They're going hell for leather, all or nothing, and Delta runs it down for the last. DRS swell the battlefield, take home a big chicken dinner. And that is going to put them fairly close to Vampire's mark.
I think that's 2 not back-to-backs, but 2 double chicken dinners for 2 teams today. Really awesome stuff coming through from DRS. The Nepali fans at home have to be proud of these guys. They have done fantastically well for their country here in All-Stars. I mean, it's just playing from there, and that was a really strong position on the map. It was great that the circle came over towards them in the end, but even then, they were one of the few teams that still had a compound to play in that had still some area going up towards the circle.
DRS up to 93 points now, 2nd place. Vampire 104, so 11 points separate them at this early stage of the tournament. That is very closable. I say early, over halfway through. At this stage in the tournament, it is definitely a closable gap. We've seen it done in less than a game. So we'll see what more challenges they can throw towards the top of those tables. Either way, we said Vampire looked pretty good to qualify as top 6 over the course of their performance from yesterday and the start of today. Even though it hasn't been as strong as it was yesterday, Vampire still looking very solid to get one of those qualification spots. I would now say that DRS in a similar spot when it comes to the probability that they'll be seen in that top 6 and make their way to the final stages.
Oh, swing over towards the Infinity. Ferrari goes down quite quickly there. So the Infinity will be playing on with 3 members going forward. That's playing path did force a lot of these teams off towards that eastern side. Our circle did head over towards Monte Nuevo and El Pozo that way. So again, for Gladiators, we just saw them on our screens. A team that would really like to get some points this time around. I think if they can end the day with maybe a 10-point average over the next 2 games, they'll be very pleased with that one. Sem9 also rocking up over towards Alpha 7. Revo down, star player on the side. Immediately, their smoke's down. They're getting their boy back up because he is certainly important to the livelihood of this squad.
A very, very key part of the roster right now, and Alpha 7 need all the strength they can get, to be fair, because they have been, I think, underperforming their expectation, almost certainly. This was a team that people were predicting to win over on the main stage, and right now, they are middle of the tables overall. They're in 9th place. It's not the team that we wanted to see.
No, not at all. 50 points currently, sat in 9th place, so 3 points away from qualifying if they could, because they already are in that main tournament. They've already qualified for it. You know, you could be that one guy that says, oh, they're just reserving their energy for the main tournament. But I think that the way we've seen Alpha 7 play in the past, it's quite effortless the way they take control of a lot of these maps. So I'm not sure what's going on here, but there's certainly something that needs fixing a little bit. And I think for the guys on Alpha 7, they'll be looking into that rigorously. You know that the coach over there is looking to see what's going wrong after so much success. You come over here, which is arguably, I would say, a little bit of an easier lobby, right? We do have some teams within here that I think that Alpha 7 should absolutely trounce, but they're just not. So I can no longer have that kind of say into these games. Matic sending off once again. This guy's got into a fair few fights so far of a couple of teams. Had to drink a little bit of an energy drink to get himself back up to full, and then takes another engagement with the guys from Alpha 7, who are just harassing them time and time again. North George now heading up towards La Cobradilla. He's sent that information back, and the rest of Gladiators starting to group up just a little bit.
The Gladiators making their way down a little bit further, hopefully, to regroup. Tixie's still very isolated as it stands, about a kilometer away, which means that any push onto his position basically is on his own at this stage. So a little regroup in the near future, you'd imagine, but not really pressing right now. No one looking to try and take that position. On the northeast side, the Gladiators went down to them last game on an unfortunate set of trades, 1v1s, and giving a little bit too much on their push. Yokohama Donuts, the team that took them down last time, moving in through Torre Armada and potentially moving parallel to the Gladiators.
Yeah, the play was certainly sloppy, right? I think that's the best way to describe it. It didn't feel like Gladiators. A lot of times Gladiators win out on fights just by setup alone. I don't think, and I will continue to say this, I don't think that they have the best gun skill in a lot of lobbies internationally. I think what they really reveled on was that macro side of things. They were very good at controlling where their rotations were going to be, which third parties they wanted to take, and which were going to be inefficient to their game plan. And that's what Gladiators were very good at. So when you see a setup to an engagement like that, which is just essentially tossing the vehicles at the building, and then praying that you win the fight out mechanically, just does not make sense to me. And again, Gladiators are one of these teams that really does want to qualify through in that top 6. It's important to them. In the meantime, you've got R8 down towards that south side west of San Martin, quite close towards the central area. S2G have also been getting quite far into a lot of these games, but that's mainly by just hanging on towards that center side and trying to fight out against any team that rocks up on them. They're going to go for a similar kind of strategy. It isn't really banking them a lot of points. You can see it on your screen there over on the right-hand side. 48, so they're really in that middle pack at the moment.
He's really having trouble here. Oh my goodness, Ali finally able to get out of the ditch in the party bus. I think that was about a 17-point turn, but in the end, the axles cooperate, and he just abandons it anyway. Doesn't need it anymore. It's given him enough trouble.
That is unfortunate. He probably could have just ran there in the first place, picked up that vehicle and got on his merry way. So again, he kept him safe though. You know, if there was any praying eyes, those party bus is a veritable shield in a lot of situations. Infinity, we saw them lose a player earlier on, John. Down to just 3 now. Not ideal. Here are our pilots back again to drop off some goods.
Where will they gift those level 3 augments to teams' arsenals. Circle just about to pop as well, as we're sitting on the west side of Miramar. 2 teams out on the southeast side, D+, Kia and Aton as well, playing over near Puerto Paraíso and on that south edge. Oof. The biggest shrink that we see on Miramar, this zone 2 shrink, goes over towards Monte Nuevo and cuts La Driera with a slice of the pie too.
Yeah, really kind of an awkward circle for these teams because it's not fully down towards that Driera side. So taking advantage of these high grounds is a little bit more dangerous for some of these teams. You can see Falcons heading over that way to begin with. I think your main worry is that most teams will know of these pretty priority compounds over towards La Driera, and if you start making your way down those mountainside, there should be a lot of eyes over towards that position. Whereas as you head down, though, over towards Monte Nuevo, it's quite barren around that edge of the city itself. So with 18 teams still alive, 69 players still in the lobby, there's certainly going to be a lot of shooting here on forwards. I don't think that this is the kind of circle that can maintain that amount of teams for very long.
Vampire lost a player to Mezexis on the eastern side of this circle. They do manage to get a building into the next circle, though, so it'll be okay for now. Gladiators being forced out by Yokohama Donuts to play a little bit, actually very split from one another. They really don't want to be locked into an engagement right now. They'll have to make their way past El Pozzo.
Yeah, a regroup like this is not easy for the guys from Gladiators. They're going to have to send several different directions. Kitsune is heading all the way over towards this western side, whereas Meku is exploring the edge towards the east. Most likely will recall Kitsune now to head towards the rest of the team now that they found a path through that is safe. I8 in the meantime, UZM gets cut down by Ravenclaw.
Well found. Vampire still hold on the southeast side now. They're going to say backed off for the time being. Misclick there from Blade. Wanted to get into the buggy. Popped a shot. Either way, they knew he was there, so it's not too much of a surprise. Mezexis still being held out further southeast. Despite already having taken down a player from Vampire, they haven't opted to go for that full push it.
Yeah, obviously Vampire losing a player like this isn't ideal, and I think that Vampire most likely will switch into a more elimination-focused game for themselves now. It won't necessarily mean they're getting a high placement like Stone went for last game, but I think that they do need to start picking up some eliminations because the 3 players on this southeast edge, it's quite awkward terrain to head up towards this northeast side anyway, northwest side anyway. So I think for Vampire, yeah, try and take up this position, which is very, very strong within the map. We see a lot of times teams picking up this spot just because of the high ground it offers you up towards that top side. It's got great little spots you can take shots towards teams, potentially pick up a knock here and there, maybe elimination, because getting further than this for Vampires will be tough.
What's Kitsune still doing up there? He's having a picnic, I think. Either way, the Gladiators, well, 3 of them, have moved down south just on the northern prong of Monte Nuevo now. They've got a pretty solid position with the circle shifting up northwest as well. Cuts La Driera out. So they will have to be teams moving up from that southeast side into these hills. Mezexis going up against Aegon XI8. It's not going too well, really, for either of these 2 rosters. They're both having trouble with it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of sightlines actually looking down here. I mean, DRS are in this location, Vampire in this location. I think DRS was just a little bit further ahead of Vampire. So for Mezexis as well as IA, a little bit of a rough return in towards this circle. But a Monte Nuevo finish, perhaps even an urban finish coming into this end game. You see a lot of teams picking up these compounds. Now, this is the type of circle that if you can get in quickly, yes, you can maintain quite a massive amount of players and teams in this lobby, but it's getting into it in the first place. There's so many other teams that were ahead of you in the queue. They've swiped their ticket. They're already in these buildings.
Oh, lovely nade in through the window from Murnat. Nails it. Absolutely blasts them away. Not really too much you could do about that. And another nade nearly takes down the player, but stays alive for now. Cute Loki. We saw him clutch it out last time around. We'll be able to go for the flush this time, but instead leaves someone up and ready to frag. Hoigar is ready and ready to go, but now as a Lone Ranger against 3, it's going to be really tricky to get this one done. We've seen it done before, but doesn't seem to have the DBS in the arsenal and faces off against them. It's the M249 in the end to land the shot, and that's Infinity IQ eliminated.
First team to go down, Yangon Galacticos will pick themselves up a position on the outer edges of the city itself of Monte Nuevo. Gladiators finally regroup with S2G just down towards their south side. You can see that right now on your screens. Mini 14 in the hand of Meku, looking down towards his position. Tixi looks to be looking over towards Romeo Boy, who is very much split off from the rest of his team over in Monte Nuevo itself. So hoping to regroup soon. For Gladiators, a difficult rotation in. Equally for Yokohama, they're up towards that north side. They'll have to push down through these fields, through these roaded areas. Alpha 7 also would like to get in. But we have so many teams already in that center area. BTR, R8. You have Yangon Galacticos, Sem9 over towards that northern edge. Aton are trying to get in, but DRS keeping things cool and cozy over towards the eastern side.
Falcons with the home team support. Playing with 4 players on that southwest side along the road. A tricky route in towards Monte Nuevo on that crossroads. Trying to make their presence felt, but they have to shift up north. This is good news for Yokohama Donuts, for Gladiators, for Alpha 7, because all of these teams on the south going to cut each other down to size and make them bite-sized for these teams up there.
Massively. If you are Team Falcons, Aton, Ikerd, Vampire, you know, a lot of these teams in Monte Nuevo, they won't be leaving anytime soon. They would much rather clear up the mess that is this southern side, massive players, as opposed to leaving. So you're already seeing FaZe, BTR all taking shots out. Surprisingly, King's able to take a shot backwards over towards BTR themselves. And I think D plus Kia have actually rocked up on their position and looking to dismount them from Monte Nuevo. A really nice push in. Satan, Fabian, and Forrest are all in already.
BTR close to D plus Kia, not the safest of positions. We've seen great things from both of these rosters. Nades up through the window. It's a 3 versus 3 on the western point of Monte Nuevo. Ryzen trying to maneuver on the outside. A nade in through the window from Yuhai, but backed off by some bullets from across the buildings. Seiden wants to answer, but neither team wants to pull the trigger fully on this fight. And to be fair, you probably don't want to in terms of that overall strategy. You're in the next circle anyway. Losing players now, it's just bad. It's just a bad time for your route out of this circle, route out of this urban environment.
Yeah, for a lot of these teams, they'd rather group up now and play that teamwork to get rid of a lot of these teams over towards that southern side of the map. D plus Kia, they've been allowed in. They're renting the room now from BTR at this point in time. It is interesting to see Ryzen in, and it's even more interesting to see Lapar out because he was so good yesterday and today as well. So I'm interested to see why exactly they have pulled Lapar out for Ryzen. It might just because it's the role change, so you're taking a fragger out for a fragger to maintain the stability of the team with the roles that they have within. So I think that could definitely be the reason behind it. But again, it's great to see Ryzen back on the international stage now. Lovely to see him here. Vampire looking to make their way in. They actually did a decent job. They cleaned up a lot of I8. They will have to flip around the side now, but unbeknownst to them, DRS are up towards their northern edge, but they've just started to make a move outwards over the road. This is a dangerous push.
Tony K with Stoned in tow. Going across open ground, but they're fairly confident in it. Nearly takes a tumble, but they're up to the rock. This is, I mean, it's very exposed, but nobody is looking this way right now. They're all on the other side of the road and they're preoccupied. DRS certainly is as SEM9 rolls up into the thick of it. Kenny has the DBS. This is dangerous territory, but finally gets caught up in the tires of the buggy. 2 players down for DRS. They're currently resable, but you imagine that's going to get taken away from them very, very quickly. Tan gets across and pops a nade back in. Killer falls down to a nade. The res going to be enacted for DRS, and they haven't gone for the flushes yet of SEM. Kenny does not get picked up there by teammate. He has the backup instead. Moving on through, wants to try and keep the pressure up and deny these reses. Tam goes for the flush, but there's a shot from across the way, and now Delta can start to cook this nade. Mikiel is low. It pops it out through the vehicle and pops it as well with the flashbang. Delta taken down to half HP, and 2 players on the inside, 1 player active on the out. DRS looking to try and stay alive now with 2. It's a difficult task but it is a team that is up to it.
2 players now. DRS played some real good shenanigans in this fight. Killer with an excellent pre-fire over towards these players from Pmwi.
Ooh.
He has another nade as well. Has to back off as shots come through from Alpha 7. Will place another one around the side. Somehow, Mikial is still alive inside this container. Goodness me. Gets away with it as well. And those nades are not going to touch him whatsoever. And Killer seems to think that if he just keeps tossing them, he's going to get them in. But Mikial right now is completely safe. And that's 6 grenades down.
I don't think there's any cheeky little terrain bumps there that can bank it off and get it into the dumpster, into the skip. But still, DRS cut down, cut in half. As the circle keeps the urban environment into the fight and actually makes the fields to the north of Pmwi, or the open ground, a little bit more treacherous and forces these teams to the north to have the problems of their own.
Yeah, if you're a team towards that northern side, you do technically have a little bit of an advantage because you're more maneuverable than those teams down towards the south side. The issue for these guys is that you really have to just stay on the edge of this circle now, because you start to get a little bit too close to this open area. The teams from the south, that is not team fight. That is lobby fire coming at you, honestly. It is horrible to come up against. So I think right now for a lot of teams like Yokohama, as well as Alpha 7, S2G, Gladiators, they just want to stay out of dodge as long as possible. Kitsune will pick up Romeo Boy, who was very split off from his team a long time. And now they can fully focus over towards S2G, who are in the compound underneath them.
Mafioso trying to put nades downhill, and a lot of damage felt. There's the knock finally. Ali taken low, and Mafioso still with the happy feet on the mountaintop. Ali very low, gets the heal off. Nade being cooked, taken down very quickly again. Unknown is there on the off angle. Mafioso just can't catch a break, cannot peek this ridgeline.
Yeah, like I said, that lobby fire is coming in clutch. Look at all those players off in the distance, all wielding those 3Xs, those 4Xs, taking shots their way. Even Team Falcons have to expend as many smokes as possible. In the meantime, Gladiators are somewhat safe because they are just hiding behind S2G, but at some point they will either have to push over towards Yokohama's position or over towards S2G.
Mafioso isolated now, wanted to deal with Iker, drop down and regroup with the rest of the roster for Alpha 7, but at this stage, they have been severed. That supply line is not there anymore. Cut off by Falcons. What more can you do? Drop down, I guess, just go for the fight. That's going to work out. First aid, is it going to be in time? Just misses it, unfortunately. It was just too slow. Can you crawl on through there? He might be able to get to the zone. Center Texas wants to move out, but if you can get through, good, but no, cut down, out in the blue. That is really unfortunate for Alpha 7, losing Mafioso there.
Yeah, it's a difficult push for him versus Iker. They had to really speed up that engagement between them and Iker, but Team Falcons obviously had oversight. And speaking of Team Falcons, what a wonderful run from them. I mean, maintaining 4 players from that side of the map on the southern side versus a lot of these teams that have had sightlines towards them. Really good use of utility and smokes, getting those vehicles through and finding those positions that they can play in. Up against Yangon Galacticos is Vampire already. Burnout Boy comes out through the side with the DBS, which seems to be their kryptonite, but Kitsune, he's got overhead. He's taking shots down towards him, already takes down 1.
Only gets the 1 player from Vampire all the way flushed, and I don't think Stones knew where those shots are coming from, but S2G are going to make Gladiators' lives just that little bit harder. The nade goes a little bit long towards the back lines for S2G, but the forward 2 are not so lucky. Razy, Kelsey, both going to fall down here. Tixie gets lit up. Silas with the SKS. A lot of ammo in the back pocket as well. Plenty more damage to do as Kitsune taken down to half HP. They back him off. The Gladiators are going to have to get this res right now if they want to keep 4 players alive, if they want to move forwards to the circle at full strength. Even then, it might not be at that level.
Getting as many of those heals off as possible, as quickly as they can. FaZe coming in now. They hear the shots And these guys love the third party.
Oh.
They love what it came through in the last game. It saved their lives, but I think they've just jumped into a bee's nest that they maybe didn't want to assault. This is outside of the zone too, so FaZe is taking a very questionable play here. I think it was the only position they could go to. They swerved off course, and now Gladiators are fine. They're like, yeah, you deal with S2G. I think we're going to head down towards the circle alongside this ridge.
Uh-oh, Revo with a DBS in the corner. It's devilish to deal with, and too much for the Falcons. They move up, one goes down, Revo half HP on the corner, but it's not going to matter. One more now to step into the breach, but it's not going to happen. Not this time anyway. He needs to pop the reload. His teammates falling around his ears. Cenatex has been knocked. A nade on the corner could be good to find a little bit of damage, but not really going to get too much more than that. The heal from Revo can start to be enacted, and on the western side, they're still in the zone.
It is terrifying going up against this guy. He dances the beat of the DBS as he comes around the corner. I think right now Team Falcons have met their match with 6 off in the distance. Obviously, A7 will have one player down. And there it comes. Yokohama took down Gladiators last game. Gladiators just went up against FaZe, were able to clear out the majority of them, but they're out in the blue now. With teammates suffering, they should just be able to get into the circle, have to drop some smokes, but Maku will be flushed out entirely.
Matic still on that backstop position. A difficult run from those hills. Aton in the meantime from the south side of Montenuevo needing to push through BTR and doing good work right now. 2 players alive for BTR as we hop back over towards Alpha 7 who have finally cleared out the Falcons. BTR get wiped away by Aton and now they'll need to push even further north through the urban environment here. 2 of their players down, just Zohan left. And there's players looking their way. Those shots will have drawn attention, and the circle goes all the way outside.
Getting down from this position, getting out from this position for R8, a Sem9 Alpha 7 will be very difficult. Look how calm this guy is. He's just sidestepping bullets. Looks like a superhero in action. It's insane to me. He even takes a shot around the side, assuming that there's a player behind the smoke. Always thinking one step ahead. This guy's playing in the future a lot of times, which must be very difficult, but you respect it either way. Gladiators over towards that northeast side. They still have Yokohama to deal with, who are all the way towards that north. And Alpha 7 are moving out. Now it's 2 players from Yokohama in front of them. The rest of Yokohama will have to move over. That will open up a gap for Gladiators to move in. This could be a good time. If they hear the vehicles moving across, Gladiators need to take advantage of this. I think they have seen it.
The Yokohama Donuts Varel position has been such a quiet presence in these northern hills, but it's been felt lobby-wide at this stage. Everybody's been funneled around them, and finally, the Gladiators are able to open up. A first shot lands from Kitsune. 3 players are alive on the side of Gladiators, and they'll move on up a little bit closer. They've got a tree, they've got the top of that ridgeline in this next zone, and the Yokohama Donuts trying to get this fight done, but Alpha 7 have other ideas. Ozi-san next to fall, and only 1 player now left standing, Kazimaru, dispatched. Across the way, it's the Gladiators to take the shots, and now they can just continue to rattle off these magazines towards Alpha 7. They roll straight on up as well. Matic almost going down, but just about ducks behind. Kitsune, not so lucky. Tixi needs to hold this one down, but Revo lights them up, and another knock sent over towards the Gladiators, overzealous and predicted by Alpha 7. They get cut out.
I think for Gladiators there, what they expected was a far weakened Alpha 7, but they confidently took that fight with Gladiators helping, and I don't know why they assumed there would be anything different. And again, Alpha 7 were able to recover very, very quickly in that engagement. So Senataxa, Carrillo, Revo all ready and raring to go into this match from a very, very tricky spot within the circle to make it here. And I think Donuts sent everything they had at them. Fortunately for the Donuts, Gladiators, that presence was definitely felt, and they wanted a little bit of payback.
Just a touch. But this is the Alpha 7 that we've been expecting to see for so long, and we have not been gifted with this performance so far. Really great for them to be able to step up here. Challenge for one of those top 6 spots. Milios goes down, and with it, Aton Esports in 5th. 12 eliminations now racked up by Alpha 7, with 4 more on the cards, a maximum point scoring on the game of 26, should they be able to pick up all 4 of these points. And they're going to go for it because Tixi, next on the cards, has got the auto shotgun, steps out wide. Carrillo lands that spray, but it's Texa to be able to shut it down with the DBS. Alpha 7 pick up the first of potentially 4. Vampire maybe next on the menu.
Stylish play as well. My guy leaped on the back of the buggy with the DBS in hand. I think Tixi was just too much for him to bear. Again, 4th place though, with the 7 eliminations that they found on that fight, or on this game, that's really good. It was much needed points that had to come through, and I think they played that game a lot smarter. It was much more under control of how they like to play it. Again, some of those decisions towards the end game, which we talk about, that execution from them, which isn't there at the moment, are still coming into play. Ragnarok has little to do in this scenario. As Alpha 7, I put it earlier, you know, they're quite effortless at taking these games, winning these matches, and this is how it's felt to me this time on this match.
Stone steps outside and breaks very wide. Revo wastes no time, and Texa there with the team fire. A little bit bold there from Stone for my liking. And Alpha 7 will capitalize. He sees Revo moving in.
God.
But what can you do? There is so little that you have in your back pocket, in your arsenal, and Revo will clean it up. The janitor of the lobbies. And that is all the points going their way. Alpha 7 perform at the standard we expected. 25 points. And a blinder of a chicken dinner blank.
I mean, the fact that he was the only guy to stand up is fair play. He has been the only guy to stand up on this team so far this tournament, and it's nice to see the rest of his team rally around him, finally. It's much needed because Alpha 7 have been on a streak where Revo has been carrying them through a lot of these matches so far, and Carrillo starts to do better. Texa starts to play a little bit better in this match, and that's all you really need in these final moments is some of your teammates in a row. It's very hard to follow up on that type of thing, man. And I think for them to get into today and then put up a pretty stellar performance, like you're on around about, I think it's 55 per day points for them right now. 55 points per day, I would say, is pretty decent. You're just under 11-point average, which is realistically what you want to see. 10-point average, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's pretty tricky to keep that sort of a pace up, especially with that readjusted point system that we've had coming into 2023. Vampire absolutely out in front, very, very close to that 10-point average. In fact,
after
currently,
this game,
currently they are over that 10-point average,
yeah.
which is nice, like you were saying. So, can they keep that up? 120 would be the mark, so 3 points, and they can keep that 10-point average going. Behind them, DRS, Gladiators as well. These are 3 teams that, at this stage, have started to solidify themselves in. Although we do want to see more from Gladiators, their capabilities have been displayed before, and it feels like in this tournament, I mean, they haven't had a chicken dinner so far. They haven't been able to convert as well as we've seen them do in the past. So that's what we're going to be looking out for Gladiators in this last match and going into tomorrow's games as well, because if there's one thing that Gladiators hate the most, it is not qualifying for the next stage of these global tournaments. It happened back in PMGC twice.
Yeah.
In very, very dramatic fashion.
It happened here as well, actually.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. For European Championships. I mean, they were at the top for quite a while, and then that position just got taken over by Fireflux, who did fantastically well. You can't deny that coming through from them. Now, Gladiators do need to make their way through over towards that main tournament. I think they will be happy to qualify into that tournament for themselves. Currently set at 91 points, as you can see. It's still a decent point scoring, because you can see 6th place is 75. So they're around about 15 points behind that cutoff zone for a lot of these teams. But you go further down past 6th place, a lot of the teams underneath them really fall away in terms of points accrued, just because a lot of these big scorers are at the top of the lobby currently. Vampire up 117, gorgeous stuff. DRS still going out on their streak of 101 points now after fixing a lot of problems, because it was funny, they were getting themselves to the end game practically every single match yesterday, but unable to put up those eliminations or secure that chicken dinner. Today, I would say it's a pretty easy fix for them, which is just be a little bit more aggressive. You're making all the right decisions to get to that end game, making all the right rotations, eliminations. You certainly done your homework coming into these matches. It's just that extra little oomph that was added. Now, I say extra little oomph as if it's the easiest thing in the world to achieve.
Yeah, just oomph it.
Just oomph it. Yeah, that's all you need. But they have done fantastically well to make that happen today. Now, looking at the circle really quick, John, very far down towards the south side.
Definitely. Definitely. Not the furthest we've seen south, but it's pretty close to it. It's encircling a lot of Los Higos as well. So all the way down on those south islands. Teams up towards the north, that's Alpha 7 over in La Copperia. Not seeing the Gladiators out there. They did, in fact, drop down the south side, close to, well, doing quite a wide split from South Los Leones out to the west towards Chumacera, towards Minas de Valle, with all 4 of their players playing fairly separate right now. Bigatron are close by to them. You've got Aegon XIA as well. Mazexis also in a little bit of proximity, although it's about 600, 700 meters from Kitsune. It looks like the regroup from the Gladiators coalescing towards the center of the circle, though, so that's good. Kitsune just needs to get back towards them, and they will be able to fight from there. A lot of teams still up the north, though, so there are a couple of paths that they'll have to take. Death Valley, between that graveyard, Picado, Minas Generalis area, being braved right now by the bombastically bellicose DRS, as they have reformed themselves into such a fragging powerhouse today.
Yeah, and I think that if you take a look at DRS right now, I mean, you can't see them on your map or on your screen currently, but they are making a very early rotate down from San Martin. And I think this is one of the keys to their success, right, is that they're very quick to get looted up and then get moving. The decision-making from this team today has been very, very swift. And I think that's very important when you are a team in this kind of lobby with 18 teams playing. You need to be really quick on your feet, making those decisions on the fly, and then get running, because you know that DRS, they're a team that always has their laces tied. They're not tripping over anything so far, and they know where they'd like to be in the lobby. They're very deliberate on a lot of these movements, which is great to see. DK plus Kia taking a little bit of damage down towards Sem9, but it is Sem9 who is taking the massive brunt of the damage on their side. It's a rotation that's made a lot easier for themselves. It was a bit more difficult on that last Miramar, but this time around, because it is in the circle, heading down towards Los Higos, much easier. There's more time to do it. Sem9, however, being in the way. D plus Kia not happy about this situation.
No, it's far from ideal. 2 players now remaining on the D plus Kia roster. Sem9 with all 4. Rez should be popping off soon. It's Forest and Saden. Forest is such a massive store of power for this roster, though, so they do still have a chance. However, on Miramar, it's very, very difficult to control the ground you need to do when you're rotating in from the edge with only those 2 players.
Yeah, it's somewhat unfortunate for D plus Kia that they run into Sem9 on that area. I think it's a rotation that Sem9 is pretty privy to at this point in time. They've seen it happen quite a few times over the past couple of days. So I think that they just waited on that underside. It is a little unprotected, but if you can get the drop on the team rotating through just like they did there, it's quite easy to get the eliminations and the knocks. And by that time, yes, Sem9 had taken 2 knocks, but they'd already flushed 2 players from D plus Kia. What do they do at that point? They kind of have to retreat, because this is the only direction they can make it through. And wasting time here for D plus Kia is going to be very bad for themselves. They're going to need to think of a backup plan of how to get into the circle, because we will be shifting to stage 2 very shortly, which is our biggest shift and which will define the rest of the game. A lot of teams hovering around Los Leones currently.
Circle, as you say, just about to pop. FaZe, they have managed to carve themselves out a little spot to keep themselves safe. Not too many players close by to them. They are fairly central, you can see, just to the west of Los Leones. And the circle does shrink. This shrink, it is, as we said, the largest shrink that you see actually across the whole of PUBG Mobile esports, this Phase 2 Miramar circle. But as it stands, this really isn't as impactful as a lot of the other shrinks could have been here, Blank. This eats into where the majority of teams would have been stationed anyway.
Yeah, I think the thing about this circle is that there's Chumacera still involved, right? And there's that rocky outcrop down towards the south side. But there are a lot of compounds, but no one singular priority compound. I mean, there's a couple here and there which are better than the others, but mostly we can fit a lot of teams into this lobby, and we might just have a lot of compound play overall, quite flat. There are roads involved, which you will need to cross later on. I think this is going to be quite a fair finish to Miramar, more fair than we usually see, where there's a lot of these fielded areas and one team that controls such a strong position, like we saw Alpha 7 over on that northern side, looking down to a lot of the squads who had to pass over pretty open terrain. It's very difficult. DRS, though, again, now defending their position. Loki trying to take some good shots over that way. Romeo Boy just about makes his way into the alley and escapes as quick as he can.
Evading the sightlines of Delta, not the easiest task, but managed nonetheless. Once more, will mount up, but 2 players in the building for Yangon Galacticos. Romeo and Cute Loki. Gianti reshucking the shells back into the DBS. Very handy in a pinch, especially in an urban environment where they find themselves. It is so devastating around those door frames. Looks like Mazexis are going to look to try and move in behind through Los Leones. Hop on over to Gladiators, staying pretty much where they decided to go after that initial drop blank. They have not moved up north of the road that sits in front of them. They'll play a little bit slower on the southeast side.
Sem9 still down towards the south, as you said. Gladiators off towards their northeast side. Vampire also making their way through from Los Leones on the outer edges on that slope that moves down over towards Chumacera. And Alpha 7 have headed down from La Riera, moving in from that outer edge. I think they want to play a much more safe edge play style. It's what they attempted on day one, trying to go for something a little bit longer in terms of the approach, spending much more time with blue. I think they're still going for that approach today, but they have shortened that amount of time that they're in the blue now. So still making those similar good rotations as I spoke to earlier on the desk. You know, that first 15 minutes is great from Alpha 7, but this time around they're setting themselves up for that success in the late game, which they have been missing out on until very recently.
Circle pops, it heads over towards Los Leones still, so it keeps a lot of those teams who are worrying that they'd have to find their way out, gives them a little bit more time to plan those routes should they need to leave, which is most likely to happen in these next few circles. On that eastern side, FaZe still very much in there. A 2-2 split for Yokohama Donuts Barrel. We'll see if they have a little bit better luck this time around.
They had taken such an extremely good spot in that last game. Set up camp, started all singing around the campfire, playing those songs, and they were having a great time. Then they went for the 2-2 split. They left the campfire behind. It was no longer cozy. And at that point in time, I think they were trying to control way too much area, and I think they realized that by the time that 2 of their players got assaulted by the 3 from Alpha 7. And I think in that situation, Gladiators just disappeared from their heads. Right? They just no longer existed. They completely forgot, went over to deal with Alpha 7, and Gladiators go for a very, very good backstab. And again, you have a similar situation where Gladiators are like, Alpha 7 no longer exists in our heads. And race on over for the loot, in which case they do get taken down. So some sloppy play here and there, but I think overall Gladiators had played quite a fantastic match last game from what was a pretty rough position on their side of the match, pinched between Yokohama Donuts as well as S2G. So it was quite interesting to see them play out. And I was a little bit more confident in their approach until they just sent it.
And they still got a decent point record on that last game either way, so not the end of the world, but it would be good to see the Gladiators get a chicken dinner.
No, just a mini apocalypse, really, at this point in time.
It would be good to see them get at least one chicken dinner during the All-Star stage for the Gladiators.
It would be. Now, one team that I cannot look down upon is Team Falcons. They're doing really, really well. I think they've made some pretty hard rotations into the line of fire of a lot of strong teams, but they just push through it a lot of times. I think that, yes, they don't have extremely good team fighting capability, but it's good enough, and they have set themselves up for some really good fights in the past, very good utility usage, I would say, and their terrain control is more often than not quite decent. Now, could we get against Alpha 7 off the back of that momentum? I would say that they were looking pretty downtrodden over the past couple of days, but now look a lot stronger. Mafioso does fall, though, on a very aggressive push.
Revo able to make the numbers go their way. Senatex looking to get the res. Should be able to pick him up here, but unknown from Ikurd has the off angle. The circle shifts out to that northwest side, which means that this move forward for Alpha 7 is going to be a little bit easier. And Blank, you named them. You said they were doing well, and you did it to them. Falcons fall in the face of Alpha 7.
I think they're giving it all they've got, Captain, by the end of the day. And I think it's okay to go down here at 18th place. I think they've done very well over the past 2 days, especially on those latter parts of yesterday, to bump up their scorings. Because currently in 5th place, 85 points, I would say that that is not bad whatsoever for Team Falcons. They were not looking great at the start of the day yesterday, and they have really picked things up. Something proper. Very much making the crowd proud. We're all supporting them here at the arena. Alpha 7, though, did take some nasty shots coming their way. And S2G, they certainly need to step something up. The deaths we're talking about, it's not what we expected. There's no more excuses on the line. Not that I would say a medical injury was an excuse, to be honest. But I think this is where they can start to show us all that homework, how it's paid off coming up to this event. All this time they've had to watch these teams. You'd hope that they'd have a very, very good final day. Because right now, I would say in 10th place, 48 points, it is becoming very difficult to breach into that top 6.
Gladiators trying to deal with Sem9 now. Matic forwards. Kitsune a little bit further behind. The rest of them stationed even further back. Tixi and Meku playing backstop on the 2-2 small split here as they regroup up. Playing 3 together now. Tixi still out on that off angle. Depp, he puts the nade right. It could be disaster for Gladiators. That looks pretty on target. A little bit to the right maybe, but the damage could go through. We're waiting for it to pop, and a lot of damage sent over to the Gladiators' health bars. You can see that on the tower on the right-hand side of your screen. But they have regrouped, and they have survived. They'll need to move further north, but they are under the watchful eyes of FaZe Clan.
FaZe are constantly in the wings of a lot of these fights, and we've seen before that they're not afraid to send out in towards the outside edge of the zone to take these fights. They are just sitting pretty up on top this side. I think that maybe Gladiators can feel a little bit safer knowing that there is a loot crate up there, potentially teams. Meku steps out, will get knocked. This is not looking good whatsoever. 2 players down. And FaZe are going to pick up all the points as Tixi tries to steal some of them away.
2 eliminations found, but Tixi didn't manage to get any of those done. Kitsune and Tixi, 2 players now alive for Gladiators, and they still need to make the break for it. Kitsune leaves his teammate in the dust and straight into the sightlines of Bigatron as well. Ooh. Not safe by any stretch, but could just about make it to cover. FaZe Clan, in the meantime, going to have to regroup back up north towards Mormon and figure out their path forwards. Center of the circle now as we hop on over to the rest of the lobby. You've got Infinity IQ, and once again, Yokohama Donuts Varel playing that wide 2-2 split. They've maintained that pressure.
Vampire Esports taking their fight against Yangon Galacticos. Schweppes already finding a little bit of damage here. This is the engagement between IA earlier on. A really good run-up. Kenny, sir, has been very, very good today. And that is not easy to pull off, and he makes it look fairly easy up until the point that FaZe were able to get involved, who have been quite the vulturous team, I would say. There are a lot of times just waiting for these engagements and picking up the pieces afterwards. Wouldn't say it's the most honorable play style, but it's certainly getting them points.
All Pixum and Grubbly, their play today. But if it works, it works, and you can't say fairer than points on the table. You got XI8 under pressure from DRS as they swing out to the shots in the shack. IQ wanting to stay alive, but Blade not so lucky. Ghost finds the needle threaded right through his ear. And Tony K leaves Delta to pick up the point. Killer opening up with the vehicle explosions as well. And that is going to be a whole load of points actually going through for Delta and DRS.
I mean, Vampire could have been on around about 9 eliminations so far. They've had a very good start to their game, waiting for these teams to move out from Los Leones, which is something that was going to happen eventually. They knew that these buildings up here can hold 1 or 2 teams. Huge. Nice nade there coming through from Unknown off the top side. Now Alpha 7 with 2 players should struggle to take this engagement versus rkiye.
Revo is there, though. The star of the show for this Alpha 7 roster. And remember, what we wanted to see from Alpha 7 was to be able to maintain the pace that they'd set for themselves in the last game. Revo leaves Center Texer as bait on the back of the buggy. Does manage to get through for his trouble, sure, and will get ahead of the game for rkiye, but facing off against 4, you're going to need to get out of there pretty fast. Heads down the hill, already taken a shot, takes another as well. The buggy is not moving quickly. With the tire out, the speed is not reached fast. And Revo, 2 first aids, needs to find some cover because rkiye will be hot on his heels.
Yeah, once again, Lone Ranger vibes for Revo. It's a sad day for this lad. I mean, he has just been on his lonesome quite frequently in these games. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles here today. I think he's been doing very well to keep his team in the balance, honestly. 75 points just on the cusp of 6th place. But 4 eliminations, though, should see them a little bit safer into tomorrow, with BTR hot on their heels in 7th place, 67 points, but they only have 2 players as well, so I think A7 can at least be happy that their 6th place is pretty much confirmed at this point.
DRS are looking to break out of Los Leones. Going across these hills is treacherous, though, and they find out about it when Schwepp opens up onto Delta. A trade back from Mormon of FaZe Clan onto Tony K, though, so a 3-way trade. Delta down for DRS. Vampire with a knock sent their way, but not a full flush just yet. However, they will need to descend from up on high, and likely DRS are right in their way.
I mean, DRS recovering from that explosion on the vehicle. They've got to feel a little bit rattled here. Vampire are looking to shake the cage a little bit more as they just get down towards this compound, hide things out for a little bit longer. But Vampire, yes, 6 eliminations so far. I think that might be up to 7 now after that vehicle elimination. And again, there were 22 eliminations at the start of this game compared to their 44 yesterday. Already, they've bumped that up to 29. So we're looking more and more respectable, honestly. And again, it started all at the beginning of yesterday. Doesn't mean that we can't bump up those points at the end of the day as well. So Vampire looking to really even the score by the end of the day.
I mean, you say even. Match up to their previous performance, I think, is probably fair to say, because right now 7 points. They have now exceeded that 10-point average that we were talking about before already.
What's the difference between even and match?
Can I get back to you on that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
As long as you know.
I'll have to give that a long hard think. I didn't mean it. I'm
he
sorry.
doesn't look happy in the corner there. What were you saying? Carry on.
I can't remember now.
Okay, I apologize. Anyway, Vampire Esports have managed to find their way to the road on that top side. This is actually quite interesting that we keep this roadside in, because the little ridge, as you can see here, is pretty important to a lot of these teams, including S2G. D+ Kia will be taken out by some nades coming through from RA. There was one sent backwards, and now rkiye look down towards S2G, who found themselves in pretty much a pit, and they're going to have to find their way to dig out of this one, because rkiye is not going to let up anytime soon.
Now going to suppress the ridgeline, sure, but S2G, with the players playing close, they have nade advantage, close range. The enemy players from rkiye will find it a lot harder to place these nades correctly down the hill close because of the way the slope falls. So the backup position there is good, and the trades are working out for S2G. Although it does go both ways here as Kelsey falls down. Razy up to that ridgeline as well. Maybe looking to send out wide. Aaron behind the pickup truck there, an unknown on the off angle. Silas caught on the back lines, has to hit the deck and stay out of the fight for the time being. Aaron spotted against 2 from S2G, will not be able to stand up to the test. Unknown not able to trade it off. Kelsey is still down, but it's not going to matter. And a masterfully handled fight for S2G keeps them in the running.
It is incredible to see that kind of stuff come through from S2G, because you just get these glimpses of the PMGC champion sometimes, and you just wonder what has gone wrong. In the meantime, Carry Boy trying to make things right as Yokohama attempt to assault his position on this side of the map. Ragnarok has to step off to that backside. There is one not gone through. Carry Boy really hanging on to this nade for dear life.
Ragnarok as well, cooking one up. Carry close and in danger for the Yokohama Donuts Barrel squad. This is the team that has held quietly on both Miramars so far today and really not been able to convert on the previous one. So let's take a look at how they're going to do here, because they're only facing off against 2 from R8, and Missile down again here. Ozzy-san trying to hide on the inside. Kazimaru, a sneaky little off angler, might prove pivotal in the fights to come. A nade towards the back, but it's not going to find any value. Naoto on the top floor as well. Ragnarok repositions, breaches the corner now. Kazimaru doesn't spot it. Into the fire, thinks better of it. Sends out wide, bolting through the window, sees the player now. Kazimaru needs to get this knock if he wants to keep his team in it, but goes down instead. Finally, there's a trade, and they are not going to let this one slip away. They are desperate to cling on, and now just carry on the inside.
Goodness me. Ragnarok got the jump scare of his life as one of the players from Yokohama just jumped on his back as he attempted vault through the window. Trying to drag him out to speak with the rest of his friends. That is terrifying stuff. I can imagine he did definitely regret that one. In the meantime, Carry Boy keeps pulling the pin on that grenade like a stress ball.
S2G starting to move through on the western side. Mormon behind the vehicle. Not going to be answered with a knock there. They're looking for the flushes, and S2G pick up more now. 5 eliminations so far on the game, but FaZe Clan still have threats in the hills. Mela with the Groza, with the DBS. This is a difficult player to get rid of, but with the number of barrels pointed your way, it's going to be all the harder. Finally, they're able to dispatch it. Hamzy G, the only casualty, and there's cover for the res.
Once again, we see this coming through from FaZe Clans. They absolutely melt when it comes to just a one-on-one fair fight between 2 teams. They are very much looking for these third parties all over the place, and it's definitely getting them points. And if that's the way they want to make that money, absolutely fine. I would love to see them to really try and take some more of these opportunistic plays in these fights. Yokohama spinning in the vehicle mid-air, though.
Seems to have worked out pretty well, because S2G got completely spun for 6. Goodness me. How on earth do you make that work? I've no idea. I've no idea how that happened. But either way, S2G get flipped on. And that is absolutely insane. Who does that?
I am astonished by what I've just seen.
Who does that?
I mean, they were pulling some serious Gs in that moment. That's absolutely fine.
They were pulling S2Gs.
They were pulling S2Gs, maybe even S5Gs in that situation.
Wow, wow, wow.
An incredible play coming through from the Donuts. I think they knew they needed to take that space. They heard the engagement between them and FaZe Clan, immediately jumped on it. Maybe not the jump that they were hoping for, but it certainly worked as the DBS pointed out the window. Goes full 360.
Nothing personal, kid. Teleports behind you.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, who expects a backflipping vehicle to just go over the top? But anyway, we're going to tune back into these 3 full 4 rosters as DRS does finally get dispatched here. Infinity IQ, 4 eliminations so far in the game. Vampire Esports riding strong with 9 on the southeast side, as well as Yokohama Donuts Barrel, who are playing pretty spectacularly after that last engagement. 6 on the game.
It's good stuff. And I think Max on the desk really wanted to see Yokohama actually pick themselves up a chicken dinner. They've been securing themselves some good positions here on Miramar quite a few times, but Tony K stands up, will completely confirm that elimination over towards Missile. Now, 10 eliminations. There is a potential of another 7 on this match, I believe. If I'm not incorrect, which I'm not. So 17 eliminations total are available now for the Vampires. And I think if they can pull that out the bag, they will have massively extended their lead here. And tomorrow is going to be really difficult for any team to try and secure first place.
Point was stolen away there by Infinity IQ, so that brings it down to 60. But still.
I love that they instantly look at Infinity. You've done us wrong.
Give me those points back right now. I'm coming to get them. Ravenclaw actually backed off the ridgeline, though. Vampire, for now, seem to have a controlling position, but if Yokohama Donuts Barrel can move through the ground here, they might be able to stay alive with 2, but Ravenclaw has the angle. Ozzy-san goes down. Can the point be claimed this time, though? Or will Infinity IQ pinch it away? No. The flush comes through, and Schweppes picks up another as well. The nice little headshot from the M4. 4 players on Infinity IQ and 4 players on Vampire Esports.
Once again, Ravenclaw on the off angle. looking
big
to
nade.
pick up them eliminations. But yeah, that's a lovely nade over the top. Better than any arc in One Piece. That is crazy.
Oh, and a second one as well. Bensu takes the knee. And a third to bring it home. Schwepp puts the cat amongst the pigeons, and the nade leaves Ferrari dizzy as Vampire look to bleed them dry. The points go their way, and the last one to seal the deal. Why not for a fourth? And Vampire Esports bring it back. The 12th match is massive. The top of the tables is theirs for now.
Goodness me, Vampire Esports, sick of the desk. Talking about how they're not as good as yesterday, but look at today. Unbelievable stuff. Jason's put up his hands. He's retreated, he's surrendered to the absolute dominance from these lads.
They went so far beyond on that last one.
You know what, I thought it was hard to top the flipping car.
The flipping car.
The flipping car was hard to top, yet that nade was something else. That was divine, I like that.
That's my favorite game so far of this tournament,
Yeah.
I think. Those final circles, they played out so interestingly and magnificently.
My guy's in his pajamas. It's too easy for him. Are you joking me?
He's certainly putting the lobby to sleep with those nades. Goodness me. Vampire are on a tear. They are doing so well yet again to bring it home.
Yeah, bring it home they did. I was just hoping you guys at home could actually figure out what I was saying before I said it, because I know you guys are watching these games intensely. Vampire taking home the chicken dinner, but you know what's the most important thing about that? It's not them winning. Well, technically it's them winning.
That's pretty important.
Hold up a second.
Max Man not having a curse.
Actually, whoa, yeah.
Curse is broken.
I mean,
the curse didn't exist. We weren't sure.
I don't think so. I mean, Donuts Varel did good, so I'll appreciate that. No. No.
You have to do it too.
You stop that right now, sir. It's not happening.
You have to do the Alpha 7 thing.
But you Alpha 7
Yeah,
won, and you're
I'm
like,
doing it. You're doing it too. Are you doing the right
Okay.
side or the left?
okay, let's go.
Nice.
Done. The contract has been sealed.
Now,
today.
Jason, remember how you were talking about Vampire?
I know, I was waiting for them to cut to a wide shot of us actually there. If they could do that real quick, that'd be good.
Come to the dark side.
I'm not getting anything cut on my hair, okay?
He's gonna do like the middle line.
I've got a girlfriend at home that I want to keep, okay? And that's why I have a beard, and that's why my hair's cut, you know.
Oh, okay.
Vampire, like, honestly, a fantastic match of them. We were watching, I remember hearing Hot Jukes and Kalaris say, like, just Vampire, they just seem to always get eliminations. They always seem to be on the board, even if they go out relatively early, which for them isn't that early. They're still getting a ton of elims, and they're still showing, like, yeah, we're still a top team. We're just maybe not trying as hard as maybe we were on day one.
It's hard to say through gameplay, but it felt like they were angry. They were like, they saw Compound from a distance. Their new team was there, like, gonna breach it. We're gonna send it. And they just full send it. So
You know what
weird.
it was?
You do that again?
They're gonna full send it. They're gonna go for it.
Calm down, John Allen. You know what it was though? They saw that.
You wish.
Out of pocket, Seven. What are you doing there?
They saw that last segment. Sertani was like, they were saying that we can't
talking
frag out.
smack.
Yeah. Release them.
And Sertani's like, I wish I'd leave my 2 Rolexes back at home where I'd be like this. You see this? Where do you think these came from, son? Take a look at some of the highlights here from this match. And yeah, I mean, we do see Japan as well start to rise up here with Donuts Faro. And we've been kind of wondering, when are they going to show up? And not a bad time to do so. Obviously, the final match of the day. But now that means they have to replicate it tomorrow. And to continue to replicate it tomorrow if they want to break into top 6.
I was a bit scared in the first Miramar today when they took that fight versus Alpha 7. I feel like they shouldn't have lost it, so it kind of made me rethink if they were able to take these head-to-head fights, and now they could do it. They had a really good fight versus RA in particular, 7. We saw in the compound across the road up north of
Which one of those teams can actually
Well,
have even
asking
a
you,
chance?
you will be
hey.
granted.
Right on.
143,
Oh my
33-point lead here for Vampire, considering I've been a little harsh on them today, but 60 placement points, 83 eliminations, 110 for DRS, Glider at 94, D+ at 89, Falcons at 85, Alpha 7 at 79. So they, well, technically FaZe Clan, again, would be qualified because Alpha 7 is in our top 6, and Alpha 7 are already qualified to the main event.
And I think this is what you were talking about, Max. Teams like S2G, right? Teams like Varel, especially after those last 2 games, they've been able to just push themselves up in a big way. They would just need to come in hot tomorrow. And by hot, I mean being able to win a match and also back it up with a lot of illness.
I thought you were going to say coming in hot like what's outside, because it is hot outside. It's like 43, 44 degrees